Hi, I'm Leslie Combamal, and we're at Art Insights, but we're with Tennessee Loveless. So this is the Loveless Lounge we've created for Tennessee, and we're going to talk a little bit about his life, about his art, and about our new project that we're working on together. So, hi.
Hi, how are you?
We're also friends. We're friends. Okay, so and we have hive mind.
Mm-hmm.
We do have
We
hive
think
mind.
alike.
We do.
Yeah.
So can you talk a little bit about your beginnings?
Mm-hmm.
And we actually have a little bit of a representation from your beginnings to the middle and to what you're doing now.
Yeah.
So that's kind of fun. So talk a little bit
about the drag stuff and whatnot.
What else?
So I started. I went to college for painting and didn't do very well, and so for 7 years I didn't paint after that.
Oh, did you feel like you got talked out of it?
Yeah, because I was colorblind. So
He's colorblind.
They told me that my work was nauseating and it produced an ill effect and that I'd never be commercially successful. And I took that to heart. And I didn't paint for 7 years, and then I moved to San Francisco, and I ended up painting a drag queen, just randomly, for fun, because she liked the way I was drawing on a bar napkin. And then from there, other drag queens asked for my work. And then it blew up from there.
But you were a drag queen for part of the time.
I was a drag queen for 6 years. And
you did do Kate Bush.
I did, yeah. And I did
Hounds of Love?
Hounds of Love, Rocket's Tale, and Deeper Understanding.
Okay.
But I was
Nice.
a drag queen. I mean, I was a videographer for this underground drag club in South of Market. And on my off time, I'd just draw on bar napkins. And one day my drag mom saw me drawing and asked me to do a painting, and I did it. And it was awful. I mean, at the time, I was like, this is amazing. But then after that, drag queens were like, oh, well, I want a portrait. Oh, I want a portrait. And next thing I knew, I had painted all these drag queens in San Francisco, and I had an exhibition. And then it blew up, and I moved to Seattle and did an exhibition there. And then I moved to Los Angeles. There was a gallery called World of Wonder, and it was season 1 of RuPaul's Drag Race. And they were doing an art show. And they asked me to exhibit my work, and I had a front window and a full wall. And the reception was great, and then I realized I think that this is what I want to do with my life. And at the time, I was a temp at Disney. I was in production development, and then I ended up in art direction and in business. And I had my drag queens in my cubicle because I was moving apartments, and it was from a show. And the administrative assistant for Dave Pacheco, who is the Disney master at Disney, saw my work and said, you have to go look at this guy and see what his work is. And from there, he's like, what are you doing with your life?
I don't know,
I was like, I don't
What
know.
do you think?
I'm in a cubicle right now. And they put me in a fast track to be an artist for Disney. And it was, I had to train underneath him for a little bit. Like, he really guided me and told me, like, this is not right, this arm's not wrong. He still corrects me to this day. He's still my friend and my mentor. But from there, I started working for Disney. And things just went out of control.
So, and at some point, you did the MAC Cosmetics thing, you did the Band-Aid thing. Talk a little bit about those.
So, in licensing, we have these teams, and I worked for health and beauty, and my division was adult beauty. And so for our projects, they were asking us, like, what do you think we should do, or what companies we're going to do, and I wanted to do MAC. So, it was my first. I was only supposed to be there for 3 months. I wasn't supposed to be there for very long. They didn't need me very much. But in licensing, you get these projects. You have these companies that you work with, and you get these licensing deals with. And then you have to figure out what you want to do. And for MAC, we had this kind of concept of, there was 2 concepts. One was femme fatale, which was all the smoky princesses asleep. And then we had venomous villains was the other one. And MAC went with that one.
I like the sleeping princesses, though. That's pretty hilarious.
We did
dark.
It was all of them, and they were like ghosts. They're like ghosts.
I would have loved that.
Oh, like a little bit of smoke coming from them.
I haven't seen the Alice in Wonderland thing that you did either. You were talking about that yesterday.
Yeah, so we did a concept. I believe it was with I can't even remember the company now. I have to look at the box. But we did this book of shadows, and it was a book. When you open it up, it's a mirror with a pop-out picture book, and where Alice is going into a mirror. And there's the Cheshire Cat at the top. Oh no, actually it's the caterpillar at the top. And then it actually is shadows, like eyeshadows. And then you open up a drawer, which is the other part of the book, and it's your brushes to apply. It was amazing.
Why did I not get that?
There was only a count, I think, of 10,000.
Oh, jeez.
And they sold
They
out.
always sell those things out in 5 seconds.
Especially with adult cosmetics,
They're really good marketing. They do such good marketing.
They do. We do these as exclusives, or we used to. Licensing is so different now. We don't at Disney Consumer Products now. It's by character group. So instead of like being on health and beauty, it's now you're the Mickey team, and so you have to go all lines of businesses, which I disagree with. I like the way it was. But back then, adult cosmetics, the sell rate was small. It was supposed to be exclusive and fun, and now it's more about
Characters.
And not only that, but it's also about money.
Yeah.
Like the quantity is there's no such thing as exclusivity anymore. It's more of like a open-ended number so that they can make more money. And that's good for them. That's the way licensing works. So we did that one, and then I moved off of adult beauty because it was successful. I moved off of adult beauty into health, which is the most boring, unsexy category ever. And it was
And you made it sexy.
I made
Black
it interesting.
Band-Aids.
I made it interesting. We had this concept when we had partnered with Johnson & Johnson about doing these new boxes because we were with NextCare, I believe, which I think is 3M. We had moved back with Johnson & Johnson and struck a deal with them, and we started doing this line, and we had this idea of doing a Mickey concept, but the box would be black, and that doesn't work because in the health aisle, you have a certain color range that's specific to that area. White is for sterile, blue is for cooling or soothing, green is for organic, also for soothing, and red is for effectiveness. Like you'll notice that every headache box is like red because it means like this is going to do the trick.
Emergency.
Yeah. And we wanted to do something that was black, and this is like completely unheard of. Like you can't do that, but we set it up as a collector's item with no actual
limit.
It was a limited edition.
A non-limited edition.
With no limit. Yeah. And it did well because you went to the health aisle. There was that one black space, and everybody gravitated towards it. And it was Mickey Mouse like appearing at the bottom, and then you open up the box of Band-Aids, and it's Mickey getting hit with an anvil. It's them getting injured, and the idea was that like kids would identify. Oh well, my character got Mickey got hurt too, and so did I. So we're one. And adults loved it. And there was a lot of complaints about it, like, this is awful to send to a child.
Oh, God,
Mickey's getting hurt.
I just loved it so much. I have so many copies of that thing. I wear them all the time.
And we won an award for that. That was the top-selling item at Johnson & Johnson. And now when you go to the health aisle, you see the other black boxes.
Oh.
They did their own brand, and now it's Star Wars. Now there's a Darth Vader.
Right.
Yeah, and I had nothing to do with that.
Still, though.
Yeah.
The other one was good.
Oh, Mickey was great. I don't know if they still do it anymore, but that was that. And the one thing though is that like we did all these things. I loved licensing and I loved working for other people and I loved making ideas happen and working with the creative teams and getting these things done. But at the end of the day, like I felt not unappreciated, but I just felt like everything that I was doing, like people were winning awards, but I wasn't, and I was a part of this whole thing, and so I was kind of like, well, shoot. And now, and suddenly that I got this art gig, I was like, I think I'm going to start working for myself, because if I can help other people get, success, well, maybe if I just did this for myself, it would be just as great. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of happened. I mean, I've only been with Disney Fine Art for, 6 years.
And? Can you talk about what that is? What's going on?
Oh, you mean the book?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's actually kind of like, it's in the works right now, but I have my first retrospective.
And it's for 10x10, but it also has drag.
It does, and that's in the works right now.
Okay.
So the first thing is that it's a 250-page book. 150 pages are dedicated to the work, right? So all the 100 Mickey heads, and 10x10x10 stands for...
Written by Dave Bosser.
Right, yeah, who just finished Destino. 10x10x10 means 10 chapters of 10 Mickeys by Tennessee. And so you have 100 Mickeys, and they it's the same silhouette, but they go in and out of contexts that have nothing to do with Disney.
But there's a lot of depth to them, and I think one of the things that people who are collectors of them and are collectors of them, when you explain, if you read about the statement for each piece, there's like so much going on in each piece. It's so much more. They're cool to look at, but there's such a story with each one of them.
There is,
and I loved those.
They were great, and also it was trying to. I wanted to connect to people who were not necessarily a fan of Disney. somebody who grew up in Mexico and loved Dia de los Muertos, and they see the Mickey skulls and whatnot, and like, oh, that was a part of my childhood.
And Mickey represents what in that context? I mean, in the context of the 10 by 10, there's more to it than just it being Mickey.
Well, he's an anchor to everything else in his life but his world. So it's like Mickey is the icon for all of us. It's not just about him and his world. I'm taking out so that he's represented in our everyday life. There's things that we miss, or there's things that we love, there's things that we grew up with that are not necessarily put with Disney, but I'm putting them there so that we can all connect with them.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the whole point of this. It wasn't in the beginning. It actually this was a total mistake,
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, we're still working on the structure of the book, but Dave Bossert was the writer of The Life and Times of Walt Disney. He also did, or Roy Disney, also the book of Salvador Dali, Destino. And so
and Eric Goldberg.
Yeah. And so I was the kind of fourth person to have this book, and it's kind of great because I've only been with Disney for 6 years, but I work very hard.
Yes. And you have a vision.
And it's very different from every other artist. Like, we started with this geometric concept. I did Geometric Spectrum was my first collection with Disney. And the second one was Sequential Comic, which was like the kind of Lichtenstein kind of versions of Disney. And how it kind of happened was they were doing this thing called Mickey Squared. And they had Michel Saint Laurent, they had Coleman, Rogerson, and Trevor.
Oh, we said Carlton. So Trevor, Michelle,
Tim,
and James Coleman.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So they had this thing, and it was it's exclusive, and they all had this one Mickey silhouette, and I was not a part of it.
And you thought, what could I do? What's mine going to look
like?
like?
They're like, well, you could do this if you want to, but the it's already done. So I was like, okay. And I was new to Disney, so I understood that my aesthetic was not necessarily, received just yet. So I did one, and I had a really great time. It was really fun. And it was called, It's a Rainbow Mickey. And then the second one was, that's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. There are some Mickeys that don't exist that no one's ever going to see. We know that. Yeah, you and I have had that conversation elsewhere. You'll never know what they are.
No. And then there was the second one was Mickey Squared. I had this great idea. I was like, I want to do 10 by 10 Tennessee. Let's do 10 of them. So I did 9, and I was having such an amazing time. It was so great. And the 10th one was Wake Up and Smell the Sound of Coffee.
Oh, and that's when it happened. Scribble.
So that was the thing. With the 10th one was they were going to do a print of this one Mickey, but they wanted me to switch the words out on his ears because brand didn't approve it for a print. So, okay. They just asked me to do this. They had this canvas with a template on it that they had already printed for me, and they said, just write the word switch on it. And I thought to myself, oh, well, this will be my Mickey. I'll be able to have this one. So I'm just going to be crazy and stupid and just do whatever. And I was like in diners and cafes and, random benches, and I had pens and all this stuff.
Coffee. There's coffee
and
on
there's
it.
Coffee all over it.
Yep.
And then when I was done with it, I was like, this is everything to me. This is the way that I'd love to paint. So I bring it back to Disney, and I was like, look, I want this piece back. Don't look at it. Don't judge me. I know that you love my geometric work, but just print it out and give it back to me. And they looked at it and said, where did this come from? And I was like, well, this is the way that I paint at home. Like, this is how I love to paint. And then they said, this is the way we want to see your work from now on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's when I started really carrying your stuff.
And I cried. Because that's the thing about being an artist. You need permission. A lot of times people say, oh, I did it on my own. It's not true.
No, there's always permission.
There's always permission. You always need to have that. It can be one person. It could be.
Hopefully, it is only one person because
and
you don't want a lot of people.
That piece changed my life. And from there, I developed this aesthetic that was very sketchy, sketch wave, very ethereal, very stream of consciousness, and that literally changed the direction of my work for the rest of my life.
And it has so much emotion to it.
Mm-hmm.